Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Sports Lowdown. Brad Swanson and Lee Knapp here bringing you the Sports Lowdown like we do every Wednesday night, 6 p.m., right here on Channel 98.9 FM. Lee, here we are. We're on the second half of the schedule already for winter sports.
And that's almost over, Brad. I mean, I know for swimming, we've got 2 more dual meets before districts. That'll be here before you know it.
The Corry wrestlers also winding down here as they wrestled Warren last night, and they wrestle at Sharon for the team duels. They were supposed to have a match tonight, and one of the teams opted out, so that gave Corry the bye and put them into Saturday's quarterfinals. And so the way that works, Lee, is they're going to take the top 3 teams out of the team tournament, and they'll move on. The first place team at Sharon will be seated in the state tournament, and then I believe the second place team will host one of the other regions, Region 7 around Pittsburgh area, I believe is how that goes. And then the third place team will have to travel to Region 6, I want to say. Don't quote me on that, but I know that third place team will have to travel pretty good distance to wrestle, and they have to keep winning in order to get a chance to
move on,
to qualify and get into the state tournament. So, that's how that one's going. We have basketball. We still have a few games to play for girls and boys basketball. That season's going a little bit longer than swimming and wrestling.
Right. Yeah, swimming, like I say, they've got two more dual meets. February 28th, 29th will be the districts down at Spire Center over there in Ohio. So that'll be here quick.
Yes, month of February is our shortest month, and it just seems to fly right by.
Yes, it does.
And here we are. We're only just the end of the week is the end of our first month of the new year already. That's hard to believe.
I know, time's flying.
But you look at these high school teams here. We talk about it every week about how the kids are doing, and we're pleased to see the wrestling team, the boys basketball team, boys swimming team is doing very well. All of those teams are doing very well. Girls basketball and girls swimming are having taken one on the chin, but they're very, very young. They're
young and competitive.
Yep. And they go out and they scrap and they try their very best, and that's all you can ask of these kids.
Yeah.
The whole thing of it is for them to stay with it, because better days are coming.
It'll get better. You're right, Brad. It'll get better. More practice and more learning the game and learning, what you need to do. It'll come. You just gotta stick with it. You're right.
Well, like you had mentioned a couple times on the show, that there's a group of young ladies that will be freshmen next year that will come up and really give the girls' swim team a shot in the arm, and should change things around a little bit.
Yeah, I talked to Coach Doug Gerald last week, and he was telling me that there's 9 freshmen that'll be coming up. With the 9 freshmen, and I think there's only 1 senior girl this year. So next year they should have like 14 girls on the team. Something like 13 or 14 girls. So the numbers are definitely going to help. But each one of those freshmen coming up are probably real competitive with what the team swims against right now. And they're only freshmen. So that's really exciting. I can't wait for next year. That's hard to say already, but can't wait till next year just to see what the improvements are. I think they're going to be quite substantial.
Now, how many seniors are on the boys team, do you know?
I think there's only one or two. So they're only losing like 3 kids this year.
Wow. So
I'm not sure how many boys are coming up that are freshmen. I guess I didn't get that information, but I'm sure there's a couple coming up. So Corry ought to be pretty competitive next year in swimming.
Right, good deal. So the future looks bright there, and we know that there's not a whole lot of seniors on the boys varsity team, nor the girls varsity basketball teams.
Right.
So, and the wrestlers, I believe there are 4, maybe 5 seniors. And prior to the show, we were talking a little bit about that, and I was telling you that, we're filling every weight class, and we have 2 and 3 deep at a few weights. So, and those kids are just going to get bigger and stronger and gain, gain a little weight, so they could hopefully fill in the holes that'll be vacated by our fantastic seniors. We do have some really good kids. In the future shows, we will definitely make sure that we are mentioning who all of our seniors are in our winter sports.
Yeah, we'll get that information.
And we do have the surprise coming up. I keep telling everyone, and they're probably going, what's this surprise? But next Tuesday, next Wednesday, make sure that you're listening to the Sports Lowdown with Lee and myself, as we will have a special version of it. And, that gives you a little incentive to keep that radio dials right there on channel 98.9 FM. But, we talked about the girls, both the girls swim team and the girls basketball team being young and have some really good kids that are very young that are learning, and they're going to gain valuable experience this year.
Sure. So
hopefully that will carry over, and they're going to be really good by the time they're seniors, all of them. So, the future of Corry sports, I think, does look very, very promising. As I said, there's not very many seniors in any of our winter sports.
If you look back, though, Brad, I'm going back years ago, every once in a while you get a 1 or 2 year lull where you're not real competitive, and then all of a sudden it's like, where did they come from? You get these freshmen coming up, you got the juniors and seniors who have had more experience, you got some freshmen coming up and sophomores coming up that have some experience, and you'll see them, one year they're, like I say, they're having a lull, they might win 1 or 2 games or matches, and then by the time they're juniors and seniors, it's like, this isn't the same team that played back then, so what goes around comes around.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's fun to see it happen, and it's tough sometimes to have to go through those rebuilding years.
Yep.
But the key is, like I said, is for the kids to stay involved and not give up on it, and to just keep doing what their coaches tell them to do. Go out there, plug away, and put forth the best effort they can, and just try to improve their game or their sport on their individual part of it as well as the team aspect.
Yep.
If you get a group of kids doing that, then everyone buys into it and the program gets better.
The main thing is go out and have fun doing it.
Exactly.
That's the main thing. If you're not having fun, it's hard. But even if you're not doing well, as long as you're having fun, because once you graduate, you can't bring these years back. I know back when we played football, Brad, we weren't real good, but we had fun playing it, and that was the main thing. So,
yeah, we struggled through. I remember through our years of high school baseball, we never really won a lot of baseball games as a Corry High School baseball team, and then we'd get into the American Legion baseball, and we'd win the league.
Yeah,
it was very strange, and it wasn't as though the competition level got that bad. It's just that we played better during the warmer months, I guess. I don't know, but it's like you said, it's a cycle.
It is.
You hit the certain points where there's a graduating class that has 200 kids, say, in it, and then the next year or the next few years there's 160 or less.
Right.
So you're talking 40 less students, and that does make a difference.
Sure does.
And then you have other kids that maybe played basketball, girls and boys basketball, for a number of years coming up through and decided that maybe they didn't want to do it anymore.
Then
So they try
back.
a different sport.
Right.
Or they get away from it for a couple of years and come back to it.
Right.
And it takes a little while to get readjusted and get acclimated with it again.
Sure does.
Especially at a much higher level of competition.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, I know there's a couple kids that are swimming this year that were out of it for a couple years and decided to come back, you know. Believe it or not, once you're out of it for, I think, I've heard rumor that if you're out of it for a couple months and then try to come back, it's like almost like starting over again. In certain sports.
Right.
You know, now, don't get me wrong, there's the naturals that can be out for all summer and then come back like nothing ever happened. That does happen. But as a rule, if you're out of it for a little while, you lose it. You don't use it, you lose it. And I know with swimming, that's why it takes so long to get back into shape. And they really don't hit their peak shape until it's just about district time. Because it takes them that long to get back into shape again.
Right. And that's practicing every day and swimming all the time.
Yeah.
So, same, in the same respect, the wrestlers are quite similar.
Yeah.
Because they have to get their body accustomed to maintaining a certain weight, and so they have to be on a certain diet basically to hold that weight, plus still have the energy to go in and give it everything they have in practice,
right? And
then do the same when they go out there and wrestle in a match. So
I'm sure all sports are pretty much the same,
right?
You get these basketball players, if they don't go out and shoot in the summertime, and I mean, it's going to take them a little while to get back into it again.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I remember we had a neighbor right across the street from our house that you probably will remember as well, seeing how you live right next door. It would be raining out, and you'd hear a thud, 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 and you're like, what is that noise? Somebody hammering on something? And no, it was just our little neighbor girl shooting baskets, whether it was pouring down rain, snowing and blowing, or if it was a beautiful day. And that was Jody Burrows.
Yeah.
And I tell you what, she spent countless hours shooting the basketball, and boy, did it pay off.
It paid off.
As she went on to not only be one of the best players in the region, and in District 10 history, actually. Jody was just a phenomenal athlete. Went on to play at Northeastern up near Boston, Massachusetts, and she excelled there, and then went on and coached for a few years. She was at the Naval Academy for a little while, as an assistant coach. So she really picked her game up, and that's what it takes, is dedication like that.
Yeah,
if you want to excel and go on to a Division I program like she did.
Well, if you want to excel, unfortunately, in today's sporting activities, you've got to do it all year round. And it makes it hard for some of these athletes who want to go out for 2 or 3 different sports. They can't go out and practice basketball all year round if they're playing football. They can't go out and, for swimming, same thing. And I don't know. I guess I would rather, my own opinion is I'd rather be decent in 2 or 3 sports than great in one. Maybe I'm wrong, but because if you think back, how many Corryites have ever went professional?
Right.
It's not going to happen. Your chances are slim.
Yeah, it's you can't say it will never happen, but chances are so strong against against that happening.
Right.
For every one kid, say in District 10 even, that's a phenomenal athlete that are being recruited heavily by Division I schools. For every one kid there's thousands and thousands across the country.
Well, I think, if I recall, I can only remember of one Corryite that went professional, and that was Chip Nuzzo.
Yeah, Chip actually played
Buffalo
during the strike season.
Yeah.
He played in the NFL, played in a regular NFL game with the Buffalo Bills.
Right.
Chip was a Princeton grad. He played his college football at Princeton, and he was a defensive back. And, actually, Chip and I became friends when he first moved to Corry. So I saw him when he came back and was enshrined into the Corry High School Hall of Fame.
Right.
He was back on a Friday night, and he was up in the press box, and he and I chatted for a minute, and I remember him talking and telling people that Brad was my first friend when I moved to Corry, and I think I heard a couple of people say I feel sorry for him.
Feel sorry for him, yeah.
But no, Chip was just a tremendous athlete, and there's a good example of somebody who really put a lot of pride and dedication into everything that he did. He was a very, very good student, and he was a terrific basketball player, football player, and track athlete.
Yep.
So his name's still on the board down there for a 4x4 relay team that I'm going to see if I can get this right. I know that there was Chip Nuzzo, Darrell Hall, Mike Cruz, and I'm trying to think of I think it was Doug Eck, if I'm not mistaken.
In a relay?
In a relay, yes. And back then it was 440 relay, which now would be the 400, I believe, right?
I don't know.
But, they are still on the board, so. I remember Chip scoring 41 points in a basketball game. And also, being the quarterback on our football team.
Yep.
And he went on and became a terrific defensive back at Princeton, and then, of course, like you said, he played a game in the NFL.
He's the only one I can think of. Has there been anybody else that...
Not to my recollection.
A lot of them are semi-pro.
That was born... Well, Chip was not actually born in Corry.
Right.
He was born and raised in Bradford prior to coming to Corry I believe he was only 10 years old when he came to Corry.
Basically raised in Corry.
Yes. But...
a Corry graduate. And I know there was a couple that went semi-pro.
Right.
Football up in Erie back when they had
guys,
that.
The McChesney brothers, Ken and Stubb, both played. Dan Corbett, I believe, played with them a little bit
up there in Erie.
Well. Yeah, at the semi-pro league.
But I can't think of anybody else that's made it, that went even pro.
We did have a guy just recently that was in professional baseball, but he was in the minor leagues, and that was Aaron Cressley.
That's true.
He was selected in the draft, and he played his college ball at Pitt Bradford.
That's right.
So Aaron was actually selected by a major league team in the draft.
Yeah,
so,
that's close.
Officially, he was a pro athlete.
Yeah, I forgot about him.
So, that's pretty impressive right there too.
So you've got two people out of how many thousands that wanted to.
Right, and you stop and think about the great athletes that have walked the halls of Corry High School.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I'm talking great athletes
that
didn't get a chance to. We had some guys that played some big-time college football. Bill Mitchell just passed away here recently. He played at Michigan State. Also Ron Gates, who played at Ohio State.
Yeah.
And you're talking some
big
older fellas.
Division I colleges.
Yeah, that played Division I ball, which is very impressive, And, there's talk about some folks that played baseball, that had an opportunity to maybe go deep, but decided to have families and settle down.
Right.
One being Terry Williams, who was a fantastic baseball player and athlete in general.
Yeah.
And he was also very good in basketball and football as well. And then Larry Greer from Spartansburg had the opportunity to play some baseball and opted to have a family. And
well, that's why I say, Brad, that I'd rather be decent in three sports or two sports than great in one, because even that great in one, eventually people are going to forget you anyway. So why not go out and enjoy it and do your own self-confidence?
Yeah. definitely.
That's my opinion.
Well, we're going to take a commercial break. When we come back, we're going to talk a lot more sports right here on the Sports Lowdown. Welcome back to the Sports Lowdown. Brad Swanson along with Lee Knapp right here on Channel 98.9 FM. And Lee, we touched on our winter sports teams, and we hope that they finish strong, and we hope everybody stays healthy. And, you know, I'm already seeing kids jogging for other sports. Must be track team and maybe baseball, softball. So that's right around the corner. You know, you mentioned at the beginning of the show how fast we were talking about how fast the season go, and you know, we were talking about how fast this month has gone by already, the first month of the new year. Well, the beginning of February is when professional baseball players start reporting for spring training, and you know, and that's just hard to believe that it's here already.
You're right. Next thing you know, it's going to be summertime, which is great. But where's the time going? I mean, it just. We're talking when we first, before the show come on, before I first got here, how when we first started the Lowdown, we were doing it on the back porch. It was beautiful weather, you know. And now, of course, now with the snowing, but spring's right around the corner, really. I mean, if I recall, January is usually the coldest and worst snow month that we've had.
Right.
I think we've been pretty lucky this year.
I do too.
I just hope it doesn't come in June.
Well, think about this. This Sunday, Super Bowl Sunday.
Yeah.
The Niners and the Chiefs, and go Chiefs. I hope I don't offend any Niners fans, but if I do, that's just my opinion. and everything we say is our views and opinions here on this show, by the way. We like to remind you of that. But it's also Groundhog's Day. So when Phil sees his shadow, we have 6 more weeks of winter. For those of you that don't ever do the math, or that are complaining about that right now, that I just said that doggone Phil, and I can just hear, you know, some people want to shoot him and all kinds of things like that. Well, if you do the math, we're going to have 6 more weeks of winter regardless whether he sees his shadow or not.
Yeah, right. And now they're talking, it's supposed to be raining. So how can you see his shadow? You know how he sees his shadow? It's with all the flashes from the cameras.
They got a big light right there. He sees his shadow every year.
That's right.
Well, I don't know if he does or not, because they wake him up. Poor guy. They pull him out of the hole, wake him up, and I don't think he's seeing a whole lot.
Yeah,
he probably can't see anything after the flashes.
He's blinded.
But we don't really talk professional sports on this show, but one thing we do I do want to touch on real quick is just a very, very tragic last Sunday, Kobe Bryant being killed in a helicopter accident, along with his 13-year-old daughter. There were 2 other young girls, you know, and
their coach.
5 other people. 9 people total perished. And I tell you, that it's just a very sad situation.
Sure is.
And, you know, for anyone to make light of a situation like that is horrible. And I agree. And I've heard a little bit of it, and I that just turns my stomach. You know, you're talking about the lives of nine people, but
a legend.
And the way I look at it too is, you know, 41 years. That's how old Kobe was. 41 years old. That's not a very long time on Earth.
No, it's not.
But 13 years old, those kids didn't even have a chance.
You're right.
They haven't even started to live yet, and that's just a sad thing. So,
condolences to them. That's for sure.
Yes, to everybody out there. It just shocked the sports world, you know. And you hear people saying, "Well, they wouldn't have made such a big deal about it if it wasn't for Kobe." Well, people, before you say something like that, stop and think about this. Kobe Bryant was one of the ambassadors for professional basketball. Came right straight out of high school.
Yeah.
played the state championship game for Lower Marion.
Yep, against
Cathedral Prep. Right. And I believe Lower Marion is just outside Philadelphia or down around that area. And the guy comes out of high school, right into the pros.
Drafted.
Did fantastic in pro basketball. Had a great career. Knew when to get out of professional basketball.
Yep.
And to put icing on the cake, he became a very successful businessman and was, doing the right things. He gave to charities and set up some foundations and things.
Yeah.
And so he was spreading the wealth that he was, able to enjoy himself. So just a great person, and it's a sad deal.
Well, I did hear, too, that the main reason he retired when he did was so he could go coach his daughter and spend more time with her. It sounded like they were inseparable.
Mm-hmm. and that was one of his 3 daughters.
Right.
That's his youngest.
Right. Wanted to teach her, and she was very interested in basketball, and of course he was, and wanted to teach her the ins and outs of basketball. And what a tragedy.
Yeah. Well, that being said, we're going to move along to, I mentioned it earlier, the Super Bowl. We got the Super Bowl on Sunday. It's Washington. Whew. It's the San Francisco 49ers, close, and the Kansas City Chiefs. And the 49ers have been there, Lee. They've won it several times. Kansas City Chiefs haven't been there in a long, long time. And I tell you what, I would really, really like to see Kansas City win. My brother's been a diehard Kansas City Chiefs fan since we were little kids.
Yeah.
And he's a few years older than me, so it's been a long time coming for him. And I'd really like to see the Chiefs win it. And they're just a fun team to watch. They have an amazing offense. They have a great coach. Andy Reid, I think, is a fantastic coach. And it's just fun watching a team that's that explosive. Now, on the other side, I will give the 49ers, all the credit in the world because they have a fantastic defense that is going to make Kansas City work for every point they score. So, should be an interesting game.
Well, I'm going to go against you, Brad. I'm going to go with the 49ers. I'd like to see them go. Kansas City's in the same division as my team. And but I'd like to see the 49ers take it. And it's been 25 years since they've had it. So it's been like an eternity for a lot of them.
Well, they're not Dolphin fans like me. It's been forever. So since I first started watching football, that's when the Dolphins were real good and won back-to-back Super Bowls. They had, of course, the only undefeated season back then.
Yeah.
And it's been a long time.
If you recall, Brad, that's back when they only played 9 games.
They played a few more than that. But actually, they only played 14, though.
Yeah.
14 regular season games. But I'm also a diehard Pittsburgh Pirates fan, so I've been struggling with professional sports for a long time, and that's why I opt to talk about high school sports. I'd much rather talk about
Sounds good. Sounds good.
And to finish off things, Lee, our high school, like we said, our high school winter sports season is almost done. I mean, Here we are. End of this week is the end of January. We start into February, and most of those, by the second week in February, the regular season's over for all of those kids. So then they get geared up for the postseason, and then we're off and we're into our spring sports.
Spring sports already.
So I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the first part of March is when the spring sports can officially practice. They can work out right now. They can do all kinds of workouts and stuff, and it's all voluntary. Voluntarily.
Right.
So they can do that, and hopefully there's a lot of kids participating. I know that there's a lot of kids that participate in the winter sports that will participate in sports in the spring.
Yes, I was talking to a couple of them on the swim team that are getting ready for track. But they don't want to, they can't, like you say, they can't do anything as a team until the 1st of March.
Mm-hmm.
So, but they were looking forward to it, and a lot of them were kind of we're wondering how long it's going to take him to get into shape. I mean, the one I was talking to was Landon Weiss. He went from football into swimming, and it took him a while to get his water legs. Well, now he's going from swimming to track, and how long is it going to take him to get his land legs back?
Right.
People were wondering. I think within a couple weeks, he'll be fine. But he's going to have cardiovascular, which was the main thing.
Right.
His legs will come, but I think cardiovascular wise, he's going to be a lot better off.
Yeah, and he's a sprinter, so
right.
That's going to really it's going to pay off big time, I think.
I think so too.
And you have a couple other kids that are going to be in track this year that are out for the swim team. I believe Logan Harrington will be.
Yeah, I'm not sure who all is going to go out this year, but I was talking to him and telling him what an improvement he's made since the beginning of the season. Never swimming before till now, and he says, "Well, I'm starting to like it now," which was good. So now hopefully he'll get back into track, and the same thing will happen there.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see.
So,
I know there's a couple baseball players that swim.
Yeah.
Nate Lesher and Laban Earhart. And I tell you what, it'll be interesting to see how they do. And swimming strengthens your entire body, so their legs are going to be good and strong. And I know Nate pitches.
You're right.
So that should help him out quite a bit. Laban gets a little time on the mound. So maybe he'll get a little more time on the mound this year. But
like we've talked before, swimming will stretch your muscles because you're stretching them out all the time. Where you get, like football builds them. Track, I think track's going to be a little bit of both. It's going to build it, plus you're going to have to stretch them.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they'll be fine. It's just going to take them a little bit of time.
Oh yeah, yep. And then you got the girls swimmers that will be coming out for track
and softball.
Yep. And same with the girls basketball players. There's a few that are softball players, and there's a few that will definitely be out for the track team. So,
right.
It's great to see. Hopefully we get great numbers, for all of our spring sports, and just keep working, keep plugging away. And any of you athletes out there, or parents of athletes, grandparents, aunts and uncles that are listening to the show, keep encouraging these kids and tell them not to get down at all, because better days are coming.
It'll be there.
We can see it as spectators and fans of Corry sports.
Yep.
We can see the future of Corry looks very, very bright.
It's going to turn around. It's going to be that cycle.
Yep, I believe you're right. Well, that's going to do it for this week's show. For Lee Knapp, this is Brad Swanson saying keep listening to Channel 98.9 FM each and every week to the Sports Lowdown at 6 p.m. Wednesdays. But keep your radio dial tuned to Channel 98.9 and listen to the regular programming and the great music we have to offer. Have a great night, and go Beavers!